Okay, welcome to the live stream here on Higher Self Dream, where we dream from our higher self. We acknowledge that we are dreaming. We become lucid within the dream so that we can take ownership over it and enjoy it and feel the freedom within it. And today we're checking out Choose Only Love from the christmind.info library, a beautiful resource for anyone who feels drawn to these type teachings, which I assume you are if you're here. And today we're still continuing with book 1 and the part 2 of chapter 8, the Abode of Light, which I started the other day. It's been a beautiful section so far. And we're on part 5, distinguishing our true feelings as opposed to the false desires that come from the mistaken sense of separation. When we come from the assumption of being separate, limited, and lacking, we have a whole world of feelings, emotions, and experiences that are, we could say, illusory. They don't come from truth. So now we're going to get to the clarity of distinguishing what our true feelings are, what they are. To distinguish true needs and true desires from the confused identity of the ego is the foundation of abundance and peace. Abundance and peace. Once you transcend all false needs and desires, you will recognize that you need nothing else, because all real need is fully satisfied, all real desire is always fulfilled. The desire and the fulfillment are together in the wholeness of our being, so that the desire is actually just a pleasure of fulfillment, and the fulfillment gives way to fresh desire, which is quantum fulfillment in the moment. So it's this flow of abundance beyond any need. The need is always fulfilled, ever fulfilled. This is how you become aware that you are perfectly complete self. You are a being without shortcomings. You are a full self. So just feel into that, the abundance and fullness of the self, when we're not in the denial, in the focusing on the separation. There's this abundance and fullness of self that's ever present here, very alive, always feeding into itself, like that flow of desire and fulfillment is ever feeding upon itself and nourishing itself and enjoying itself and blessing itself by being in itself and knowing itself. The way to distinguish between true feelings and those that come from the ego lies in your ability to feel their energy. So that's it, feeling the energy. That is why it is so important that you are not afraid to feel. Yes, not afraid to feel. There's sort of like a barrier of resistance to feeling that can seem to keep us separate. And there's like a resistance edge on the outer aspect of it that says, oh, I don't want to feel this. But once we kind of like dive into our feelings, they start to flow and flower and blossom. And even sadness and anger, when they're met in their richness, in their aliveness, they become this flow through the nervous system that's actually very nourishing. And then below those things that we've called negative emotions, which is really just a judgment, right? Sadness is bad. Anger is bad. That's the resistance. But once we kind of dive through that resistance and are just swimming through the feelings, we see that this is actually the ocean of abundance within which we exist, and it's actually just life flowing. So, yeah. So this ability to feel the energy of the feelings, that is why it is so important that you are not afraid to feel. This is why you are asked again and again to love everything that arises. So simple. Love everything that arises. We think that judgment is wisdom, but it isn't. it ain't. Judgment is not wisdom, like that we know what's good and what's bad. That's the false mind. That's the arrogance of the separate self. But what is really wise is to love everything that arises. That is the same as wisdom. So that you allow yourself to feel the energy of whatever it is that you experience. You must learn to discern clearly between the feelings that come from love and those that do not. So there is this discernment. It's not judgment, really, but it's seeing clearly. Both the true feelings, which are those that come from your heart, as well as those that do not come from it, are vital energy. So it's all vital energy. Even the separation feelings are vital energy, built from vital energy. You know which come from truth and which do not by the energy that they elicit in you. The feelings that come from love are the true feelings of your heart. They bring certainty. The others bring restlessness. The true feelings of your heart bring peace. The needs and desires of the ego take it away. The first comes simply. The second are accompanied by a confused swarm of emotions, a swirl of energy, a mixture of emotions. Swimming through the feelings, being with the energy of the experience. When we dive in past the resistance, because on the outskirts of experiencing, there's resistance to feeling. And sometimes that's just like an outer veiling, like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel this way. And it's good to acknowledge that too. I don't want to feel this way. Because once it's acknowledged, it can kind of soften that part of the mind that's judging. I don't want to feel this way. But then underneath that, what is here? Oh, there's sadness. Ugh, sadness. Ugh. But it's like, once you actually start to meet the sadness in its purity, in its simplicity, sadness, it's actually not a negative experience. It's like this flow through the nervous system that's actually releasing and releasing and releasing. And that's when you're swimming. That's when you're swimming in the energy of it, in the flow of it. I wonder what your experience is with that. And that's when we get from these false, from these egoic energies of confusion and conflict, which are always just like stuck in these gridlocks with each other, judging each other, you know? It's like layers of the psyche all at odds with itself. But the true feelings actually flow from the heart, from the source, and are not separate from the source. But they don't negate the reality that there can be sadness and there can be anger, you know, but in its flow with wholeness, it's not a problem. You know, it's still in the freedom of it. It's just flowing. But on the outskirts of the human egoic consciousness, more on the surface, it's all kind of gridlocked in conflict. And that's where it really doesn't feel good. It's suffering, you know. Both the true feelings, which are those that come from your heart, as well as those that do not come from it, are vital energy. You know which come from truth and which do not by the energy they elicit in you. The feelings that come from love are the true feelings of your heart. They bring certainty, like, I know that I am. That's the words you could put with it, certainty. I know that I am. I know I'm here. I know I'm present to myself. That can't be doubted. That's the certainty of the heart. The others bring restlessness. The true feelings of your heart bring peace. The needs and desires of the ego take it away because they come from lack. Like, there's already an assumption of lack, like, I'm separate, I'm limited, I'm lacking, and now I need something to fix it. That's the restlessness. The first comes simply. The second are accompanied by a confused swarm of emotions, a swirl of energy, a mixture of emotions. Listen only to the voices that bring you joy and peace. The rest do not come from God. And I would add to that is that, like, the voices that don't come from God can also be acknowledged, you know, and seen. Because if we try to push them away, they tend to just get re-energized into the unconscious. So, you know, we see them as illusions by looking at them. Part 6, providential love. Love that provides. To fully express yourself is the only way to know yourself as God knows you eternally. For this to be a reality here and now, we must retrace our way of being. This means that we must begin by lovingly recognizing and accepting all feelings, desires, and needs, respecting and honoring all that arises, and remaining in the silence of the heart. In this silence where we observe without judgment, so observing without judgment, that's a key. We lovingly look forward to the universe giving the answer to our desires. When we look without judgment from the heart, we receive the answers in real time to our longings, because the longings come from the source, and so they are supplied from their very source from which they come. They're not supplied from the outpictured world, if that makes sense. Daughters and sons of God, be aware of the limitations of the ego, those needs that do not come from your true self. Do not suppress anything you feel or think. So here, that's what I was saying. We don't suppress it. Do not censor what others feel or think. Right. Don't judge. Don't try to change others. Rather, respect and honor your needs, your desires, your emotions, your feelings, and your ways of thinking. So respecting and honoring, and this is like blessing. It's looking that we have the power to bless what arises within our field of experience. That we have the solutions. We have the power to correct. We have the love that the false self is looking for. We already are that. We are that, and we can give that to ourselves. We have the resources that we are looking for by respecting and honoring what arises. Your desires, our desires, our emotions, our feelings, and the ways of thinking. Love all that you are now. So judgment says, I need to be better in the future, and then maybe I'll get love. But this is saying, no. You are love now, and you have to love what you are now. Love what arises. Become the unbiased observer who quietly embraces all that arises in your heart. So can you feel the inclusivity of this? And we're not pushing anything away. We're not fighting ourselves. We're not trying to correct ourselves. We're not judging what's limited and lacking in ourselves. We're resting in the heart and saying, I see you. I see these feelings. I see these needs. And I bless them. And I hold them in kindness and gentleness and compassion. And then the beautiful recognition that like what I'm looking for is already here. Through this process, we start to see that bit by bit, experience by experience. We acknowledge what we are by extending it first to the perceptions within ourselves, and then it spreads out to our brothers and sisters, our friends and family, the people around us. We give them the same kindness that we are offering internally to ourselves. Be aware that the need to love and be loved is the only need that exists in everything. The only need is to love and be loved. It is a need fully satisfied by love. I just feel myself resting into that, receiving that, enjoying that. Dissolve the painful memories that have accumulated for centuries. So not even just our memories from this lifetime, but it's like we have a whole lineage of human experience that is all, in the library, ready to come to the surface and be met in love in us. Past lives, karmic propensities, ancestral patternings and survival mechanisms. They all are here to be loved and forgiven in the heart. Abolish suffering completely. Fearlessly embrace everything that arises. So this power to be here so present that we can abolish suffering, not by judging it, but by blessing and loving it. then we find this fearlessness that's ready to meet whatever comes forward in us and says, aha, I'm ready. I'm ready for you. Come forward, I love you. Come forward, I love you. Nothing can happen to you that isn't perfect. Any experience you have from now on will be the perfect means for the dissolution of pain. So seeing the opportunities of life, that life is the opportunity to love what arises rather than a problem. Everything will grow more and more in happiness and fulfillment. There's the promise. Through this commitment, this is what will be received, what will be given. Now you are ready to let everything be seen, everything be manifested. All is embraced in the tenderness of love. Everything is included in peace. Allow your whole being to remain in the light of truth. Make nothing invisible. So don't try to hide things away. Don't try to bury things in the unconscious or pretend that they're not there, because we want them to come forward so that they can be brought to resolution through us. And if they're in the dark, in the basement, they can't be brought to resolution. They just remain there until there's a willingness to bring them forward. Stay awake, and it's just willingness. It's not even effort. It's just like, I'm ready. I'm ready now. I have the technology of love, which is ready to bless. It's the same tool for every job. Now I'm ready for whatever wants to come. Stay awake in the light of holiness. Be lovingly attentive. Stay in the silence of love. Leave nothing outside your abode of light. This reminds me of the circle of atonement from A Course in Miracles. It's the circle of light that includes everything, steadily increasing and growing in size until we see that the circle of light has no edges, is completely unbounded, and includes literally everything. Enlightening your inner world will illumine the outside world. Inner world illumines outside. Inner world is cause, outside is effect. Enlightenment means to stop succumbing to the fear that seeks to protect itself. So we see that fear, and we bless it. We see it, we bless it. Listen exclusively to the call of love. It is the call to union, to the union of all that you are. This is the call to love and be loved, the jubilant recognition that only in light can you see. And only love is light. It is also the happy acceptance that all true light comes from the wisdom of the heart. It is the full recognition of the holiness that you are. Recognition of the holiness that you are, that I am. Holy sisters and brothers, love your feelings. This is so important. Whatever they may be, for they will take you back home. So loving the feelings is the gateway home to wholeness. Back to the abode of light. Thank you for allowing us to dwell among you and to answer the call of love. Oh, thank you also for being here and joining me in this message of atonement, this message of the abode of light, where we join together in the one mind and remember the power that we are this unchangeable light of love that shines on all perceptions, is the light by which we see, and that with this light we have this ability to bless what arises, and through the blessing of what arises we witness it come back and be transmuted into wholeness, into oneness with the light that we are. And this is the process, this is the game of love. Like a whack-a-mole, we whack the arising sensation with our hammer of love, if you'll forgive me the sort of rough metaphor. And this is the game of love, so let's play it. Let's play it to the max and practice it and take life as the opportunity. Not the thing that gets in the way, but the thing that is actually our pathway home, our stairway of lessons back to the wholeness that we already are. Okay. Sending many blessings and just the invitation to really rest in the heart and love what arises. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.